So these 5 things are typically what we see as the top stressors in America. They sometimes change order, but these hardly ever change as far as the top 5. When we look at 2021, we see a total different order, but if you remember the top 3, they have been totally replaced. You can also see that we went from 64% in 2019 as being the top vote getter, so to speak, and the media came in at 84% in 2021. I just show you that information to tell you that our lives change drastically, and that is one of the things that causes so much stress in our daily lives and with our mental health and the ability to cope properly. You can tell that these stressors negatively affected mental health in most communities, and this is why it's more important than ever that we talk about maintaining our mental health. When we start thinking about stress, we know that it affects our body. We know that it affects our physical health, but it also affects our mental health significantly. On the physical health side, you can see in the upper left corner there, our body. These are some of the things that we see when we're under a lot of stress: fatigue, headaches. The other 3 blocks of this graphic talk about more related to our mental health, our emotions, our behavior, our mind. And you can see all the things that affect us and the ways stress affect us. And we're starting to see in the past 2 years, we're starting to see a lot of stress on our mental health as well as just our general physical health. And so I thought it was important that we talk about just the past 2 years and how impactful that it has been for our mental health and why. It's important that we know what the common warning signals are, what the warning signs are for mental illness, things that affect our mental health, and what it looks like and what it feels like. This is just a graphic of the top 10 common warning signs that we should be looking for. And I'll not read the whole slide to you, but I will highlight a few of them. The first one you see listed there is feeling sad or withdrawn for 2 weeks or more. That's important. Feeling or trying to harm oneself or others. Severe, out of control, risk-taking behaviors. Sudden, overwhelming fear is for just no reason. That's a key indicator. If you look in the right-hand column, excessive or increased use of alcohol or drugs, drastic changes in mood and behavior, especially sleeping habits, and then just intense worries or fears that tend to affect all of us, but this is a higher level. And we just need to be aware of those mental health conditions and what to look for and what to start thinking about. Here are some tips, just a few tips for maintaining mental health. And this sounds a lot like regular physical health. Get regular exercise, eat healthy, regular meals, stay hydrated, make sleep a priority. This is a huge tip. Sleep affects us incredibly significantly. Understand the difference in situational and chronic conditions. The 4th bullet there, 5th bullet. The frequency, the intensity, and the duration. If you're having mental health, if your mental health is at risk, if you're suffering for something like depression, and the frequency is once every 3 months, that's not real significant. But if it's 3 times a day or all day, the frequency of it is very important to look at. If something is happening for 2 weeks or more, that is a sign that you need to get help. The intensity, does it just make me where I can't get out of bed in the mornings? How intense is it? When you think of a pain scale of 1 to 10, if you're at an 8 with your mental health, we need to seek help. And then the duration, 2 weeks or more, is kind of a golden standard that if you're suffering, we need to seek that mental health professional. Here are some of the things that we do in the community, NAMI Greenville, to work with families and to work with individuals that need some help with their mental health conditions. And we do education classes. I listed 3 of the ones that we do: family, basics, peer-to-peer. These are classes that we do multiple times a year in many locations for family members. And it teaches you a lot about mental health. It teaches you about diagnoses. It teaches you about medications and mental health professionals. It also teaches you about self-care and communication skills to work with family members that may have, or yourself may have, a mental health condition. So education is critically important. Support groups, we offer 2 different types of support groups in our community in multiple locations. Connection is a support group for folks with a mental health condition. Family support group is for the caregivers, the loved ones, the family members, the friends that help them in their walk with mental health conditions. And you can contact us at our email address, our phone number, or our website to learn more about that. There's also information on our website about that. This is another slide of what we do in the community. You can see families and individuals in the center. Many times people need a mental health professional. They may need a facility, a hospital to go to, may need help in the legal community and the financial community and other things. But we want to be seen in our community as a connector for folks to get to the resources that they need when they are in crisis and when they're in the maintenance mode with their mental health. So we're an organization that tries to serve families and individuals that are affected and need help in these ways. I wanted to show you just a couple of slides about resources. This is NAMIGreenvilleSC.org. This is our local web page. I just pulled it up, took a screenshot of it. But if you go to resources, the resource tab, and down to Espanol, you'll get to links to our resources that are in Spanish. And you can see those and you can get in touch with us and help us help you learn more about this. Also, our national organization, NAMI.org, this one is not quite as clear, but you go to this tab, it says in Espanol, it's the NAMI national website, and they have a lot more resources on their particular website. But we want you to be able to find these resources. So that's important, and wanted you to know about that. So that's what I wanted you to know, what we do in the community, why it's important, and a little bit about mental health. And that's what I have for you this morning. So Tia, I'm going to turn it back over to you for next steps.
Yes, thank you so much. If you don't mind staying on, and I hope we'll have time for questions at the end.
Yeah, I'll be glad to do that. And I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay, thank
you. So
you.
that someone else can do theirs. I will.
Thank you so much. I do see that there was a hand raised. I'm not sure if that was a mistake or not, but we're gonna hold questions to the end. We have Quincetta Sellers from the Phoenix Center in Greenville.
Hi, everyone. It's actually Quansetta Salters.
Oh, Salters. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Salters.
That's all right. And are you pulling out the PowerPoint or am I pulling it up?
If you could, you can share your screen.
All right. Can we all see it?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So once again, my name is Quansetta Salters. I'm with the Phoenix Center, and we are also known as the Greenville County Commission of Alcohol and Drug Abuse. So at the Phoenix Center, I am actually located at the main location, which is on 1400 Cleveland Street. And at this location, we house all of our outpatient services. So we have outpatient for adults as well as adolescents. So my title is Community-Based Services Coordinator. However, I am the largest department that falls under me is going to be the adolescent department. All right. So whenever we're talking about adolescents, the things that we're going to offer on site are going to be assessments. So typically our assessment process is going to be a 2-hour process. Whenever we're coming in, the client is going to be meeting directly with a counselor. We're going to be taking history. And I like to describe it as the first time that you go to a doctor and they ask you all of these questions. That's exactly what we're doing. So we are finding out information about your family history, about any type of medical, mental illness diagnoses that you may have, your history of substance abuse, and amongst a lot of other things. So these are all of the things that we want to know to be able to cater to the client to provide the best services. Of course, after we do our assessments, we're going to focus on treatment plans, and pretty much what those are going to be are a list of goals that clients are going to be working on while they're here engaged in treatment. We offer group counseling. We also offer a family group for any adolescent who's engaged in services with the Phoenix Center. We have family group, which is going to be the first Wednesday of the month from 5 to 6:30. And the majority of the time, we're actually going to have another family therapist, whether it's Dale Savage, who's a drama therapist. We've also had Sarah Barnes, who's a music therapist, that will come in and facilitate the group. And pretty much what that is going to be, the focus is the topics a lot are going to be communication, support. So finding out, and a lot of education. What is substance use? How can you better support or better help encourage your son, your daughter, your nephew, your niece, whoever it may be? How can we better the communication, which a lot of times that's going to be one of the top barriers, the communication of the person who's using or who has gotten in trouble versus everyone else who may not be able to even understand the disease of addiction. We also offer individual counseling. And at the moment, we do not currently offer intensive outpatient, but that is something that we are looking to incorporate within the next few months. And intensive outpatient for the adolescents, that's going to be more so for people who are either moderate or severe in active addiction, who just needs a little bit more than other people may need. All right, so some of the programs that we have under the adolescent department is going to be Bridge. So with our Bridge counselor, her focus, and her name is Michaela Glenn. Michaela's focus is going to be on individuals who are either at high risk from being removed from the home or who are returning from the home from either inpatient or from a substance abuse residential facility. So she is able to spend more time. She's actually able to go into the home, to go into the school, if the school allows, to be able to spend more time with that client during this transition. We have a full-time counselor who's stationed at the Sullivan Center, which is also known as the Lifelong Learning Center. That's going to be the only alternative high school that we have in Greenville County. We actually have 2 positions, but we only have 1 full-time counselor as of right now. We actually hired another person, and they are actually going to be starting next week. But of course, it's going to take them time to get up and running before they are actually based at Sullivan Center. We also offer a education curriculum called Girls Circle to 7th and 8th graders. Currently, this is only only going down in Tanglewood Middle School. And so it's an evidence-based research curriculum, and it focuses on having that safe environment, communication, things that we see that are very beneficial for individuals to have during those formative years. We also attend the collaborative meetings, and they're also called ISOs with DJJ. So Michaela is actually our person who does that for us. So whenever there is a student or a client who is involved in DJJ, there are a team of community resources who are working with that one particular client. So of course, if they're engaged with us, they may have DSS engagement. So once again, there's a lot of people, and we're all in there trying to coordinate the best plan for this client. So with our Bridge program, and I'm not going to go too much into this because this is something that happens kind of behind the scenes, but it just talks about 3 different phases that Bridge clients go through. And with our Bridge clients, because they are at a much higher risk, they are typically going to be engaged in services longer than other clients. And the last thing is going to be our PAW event that we host. So that stands for the Phoenix Adolescent Wellness. So we actually held our first PAW event last March during spring break. We actually are planning another wellness event for this upcoming March. And what we want to do, the focus is while kids are out on break, so this is typically happening during spring break time, we want to be able to provide a refuge for them. So that way they're able to be around peers. And once again, we want to make it a low risk and healthy environment. Last year, the event took place at our Shipman Center. And for people who may not even be familiar, we used to call it White Horse Academy. And that used to be our residential facility. Unfortunately, we no longer have residential services for adolescents at this time. And so what we focus on, once again, communication, team building skills, and it's going to be also things such as skill building, personal living skills, and interpersonal skills. Typically, we'll have the rope courses available. There will be a lot of fun and games, but even with the fun and games, there are always meaning and lessons behind those things. And if anyone would like to contact us, here's our contact information if you want to get an assessment, or if you just want to find out further information on the services that we provide. All right. So one of the things that I also wanted to state was what we are seeing an influx in as far as the substances that our clients are using. So the majority of the referrals that we are getting from schools or from DJJ are going to have to do with vaping. So whether it's nicotine or whether it is we call it THC, but everyone else calls it weed. So those are some of the things that a lot of our clients are coming in, and it's everywhere. It's being sold everywhere. They come in all different type of flavors, which is very, very appealing. But we know that nicotine is highly addictive. And once again, for those minds, those brains that are still developing, it could be mapping the brain in a different way. So once again, thank you. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can feel free to give us a call and we can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Ms. Salters. So once again, if you could please stay on, I appreciate what you've offered so far. We will take questions for Ms. Salters and Mr. Doherty.
I had a question about the NAMI support meetings. Is that for adults or for children as well?
Great question. Great question.
Yes.
Yes, our support groups are actually for folks 18 and over currently. We are working on some additional groups for youth, but that's a little different. Takes a little more planning and a little more liability information. But right now, everything that we do is 18 and over.
Yeah, can I also make another quick comment?
Mhm.
If there are any on-track facilitators who are in this meeting, can you all reach out to me? My counselor has been trying to get in touch just to be able to provide you with some information and some resources about her program. So if you could all reach out to me, that would be wonderful.
So the on-track facilitators, I don't think are in this meeting,
Okay,
but we will pass that on.
thank you.
We do have parent and family coordinators in this meeting from our on-track schools. So, okay, well, I know it might take, sometimes it takes a second for people to get questions. But I want to remind everyone, one, I want to thank our presenters for today. We really appreciate it. This is great information, like I said in the beginning, that we all need. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with our families today, and we really appreciate it. I want to remind everyone, as I did at the beginning, that we have family learning meetings on the second Wednesday of each month for this academic year. And our next family meeting will be on Wednesday, February the 8th. And this is a great time for you to start looking at summer programs. Remember that they usually get full pretty quickly as soon as they open. So we want to give you some ideas as to what some summer programs are going on this coming summer so that you can get the information and hopefully register your students as soon as possible. Okay, there is a question in the chat. How much does it cost? How much does it cost for an appointment? Well, I think both of you could answer.
Well, I can start. All of our programming that we do in the community is free to the community. So there is no charge for any of the programming that we do, whether it's a support group or an education course. Support groups you can attend without registration, but any education course, we require a pre-registration, which can be done on our website. For just so that we have enough materials for each class.
Thank you. And could you please put your contact information in the chat, Ken?
Yeah.
Thank you. If you both could put your contact information in the chat, but I know in the meantime, Quansetta, if you could tell us about the cost breakdown for the Phoenix Center.
Yes, and the cost is actually going to be on an individual basis. I wouldn't even be able to tell you the range just because everyone's care is so different and we have multiple levels of care. However, with the Phoenix Center, and once again, we are substance abuse counselors. So this is, this is therapy. So there is going to be a cost with our services. The majority of our clients have Medicaid. So we do take Medicaid, we do take private insurance, and we do self-pay as well. We do, because we are a county facility, we do have a large population of clients, and it may not be adolescent clients, but adult clients who may not have insurance. And definitely we do not want that to be a barrier for anyone to not receive treatment services. So we do have grants out there. So when clients come in, if they're uninsured, we encourage them to fill out the paperwork. So that way, sometimes the grant can pay partial or their whole treatment services. And once again, we also offer so many different levels of services for adults, residential and detox as well. So definitely those grants will go a long way to be able to help lessen the financial burden.
Thank you. I see another question that I'm not sure, again, who is related to, so we'll all answer it. It said, are the programs for parents or students? I was just discussing the next family learning meeting about summer programming. Those would be students programming for students, and we're hoping to get summer programming, get people from different parts of the community who have summer programming for all ages for that. But I don't know if that question was regarding, again, NAMI or the Phoenix Center. So that's again a great question for both of them as well.
Sure. Most of our education programs are for the parents and for adults, but we also are doing working with the school district, and we have a couple of different presentations that are done in the Greenville County Schools. One is a presentation called Ending the Silence, and that is done through each of the schools individually, and usually it's mostly in middle and high schools, but it is done free of charge, working with each individual school. And also there are some other student groups that are mental health themed that are meeting inside of some of the schools also. But that again is a program that is done in the individual schools that we're able to work with to share that information.
Thank you. And I'm going to allow you to answer the next question as well while we have you, because it relates. It says, is there help for someone asked about their fifth grade student?
Yes. Again, there are a lot of resources, and going back to one of the slides that I showed, how at NAMI we try to connect families to the resources that they need for their specific issue, whatever that is. So if you have a fifth grader, there's a couple of things that I'll say. Chris Haynes was supposed to be here today from Department of Mental Health. They have therapists and counselors in. They have one with Department of Mental Health that is assigned to every school in Greenville. So there is a resource, either the counselors or the Department of Mental Health counselors in the schools, that would probably be a first step for a fifth grader. But if you need help, first place to start is your pediatrician, or call NAMI Greenville. We will talk with you about your particular situation and try to help lead you to a resource in our community that is available to you.
Thank you. Quincetta, if you could also answer the question, the two questions about the programming for parents or students, and how young, I guess, does the programming start? Would you be able to help a fifth grader?
All right, so you did two questions back to back, and my brain was just like, wait a minute, hold up.
Basically,
What was the first question?
They relate. So basically, what are the ages that you serve?
Okay, so we do see them as young as 7. We can see them as old as 18, 19, sometimes 20. Whenever you get to the 18, 19, and 20, they're really on the cusp of engaging in adult services. So with 18, 19, typically they're going to be in school. If they are not in school, most likely they're going to be referred to adult services, unless there are some type of factors that factor in where they would be more appropriate for adolescent services. As far as services, it just came back to me. If parents are included, parents would be included in family services, so family therapy, as well as the once a month family group that we have. And with that group, once again, your adolescent would need to be in services at the Phoenix Center. So even if they opt out of group services and only want to do individual services with a counselor, they still can come that first Wednesday of the month and engage in the family therapy group.
Thank you. I think also it's important, and maybe you can, I know this is not your area, but could you talk a little bit about the other services that you offer? For instance, because these are families, if they have an uncle or another person in the home who's an adult who would need your services, you do offer services for.
Yes, I can. And actually, it used to be my area for about 4 years until this became my area. So the majority of my experience as a substance abuse counselor has been with adults. So once again, we offer adult outpatient services, which is once again at the 1400 Cleveland Street location. So the majority of the adult services clients that are going to be coming in are probably going to be ADSAP related. And ADSAP is going to be for anyone who's have a driving related offense related to alcohol or substances. So whether it's going to be a DUI or an implied consent. We also do have referrals coming in from DSS, from probation, even self-referrals. If someone feels that they have a problem and they want to get help, whenever someone overdoses at the hospital is going to call us to try to get that person engaged in services. At the 1400 Cleveland Street location, we offer MAT services as well. So that's going to be medication-assisted treatment. So that's going to focus on people who have a abuse problem with either alcohol and or opiates, where we can offer medication to be able to help with the cravings as well as help with the withdrawals, which we see from studies that whenever you take those barriers away, people are able to better focus on their daily living, getting up, going to work, and being productive. You have to be 18 plus to be able to get MAT services at the Phoenix Center. We also have a location off of Industrial Drive that's going to be our residential detox facility. So that's going to be adults as well. So with our residential facility detox, depending on the substance, it's typically going to be alcohol and benzodiazepines. We used to do opiates, but now that we have an MAT department, typically they're going to refer them to the MAT. So those particular stays, depending on the substance, could be anywhere from 3 to 7 days for our adult detox. And our residential, if I'm not mistaken, it could be anywhere up to 28, maybe 30 days. But once again, that's all depending on the substance, the severity, and other socioeconomic statuses. We also have a different facility called Serenity Place, and that's going to be for women, pregnant women, not just women, but pregnant women and women with toddler age children. That's going to be a residential facility, and that's on Dunning Street. So with that facility, there's multiple programs within that facility. So women and their children are going to be there for months. I believe it could be anywhere up from 6 months, maybe sometimes even more, depending on the steps where they are at in their recovery.
And do you offer meetings for those who are I guess a little further along in recovery?
And when you say meetings, like what type of meetings?
Like AA, NA.
So we actually do not offer those services. Those are going to be peer recovery services. However, we do have recovery groups who come in regularly to be able to educate clients on that, as well as have meetings. So I know AA actually one of our commission members, he's heavily involved in AA. And one of his things is to be able to make sure that we have speakers who can come in and who can talk to our groups. So AA Favor, they also are on a rotating basis that they will come here, and we will make sure that the clients are able to connect with them to find out what services they provide. For residential detox, they would actually come to the facility to be able to have those peer support services. We also have on staff, I believe at every location, we also have peer support specialists as well. So they are able to run groups and they are able to do individual services with clients as well.
Thank you so much. I don't see any other questions. This is the last call. Again, you can either unmute or put it in the chat. But in the meantime, we especially appreciate you for joining our chat. The Phoenix Center was able to join within the last couple of days. So we're so glad that you did. And we also want to thank the National Alliance of Mental Illness for their presentation as well today. If there are no other questions, then I will invite you to have a great rest of your day. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And if you need anything, you can just stay on, but otherwise you're welcome to leave. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.